Tiffany Henyard in court today over illegal appointments she allegedly made for several positions inside the village, among them.
I'm a private investigator. I've got some books that says supermayor. Inside I have from the United States District Court, Oregon District.
Old do Mayor Tiffany Henyard's world has come crashing down in a storm of scandals, lawsuits, and public humiliation. Once calling herself a super mayor, Henyard now finds herself evicted from her home, booted from her role as Thoron Township supervisor, and under investigation by federal authorities. How did someone with so much local power fall so far from unpaid rent to accusations of corruption? We're diving into everything that led to this chaotic downfall.
A few times to serve them for a household that makes, over $350,000 a year.
Let's start with the eviction that set the internet ablaze. Tiffany Henyard and her boyfriend, Cal Woods, are being kicked out of the suburban home they've lived in since 2021. According to their landlord, Janetta Hull, the couple hasn't paid rent since August, leaving them thousands of dollars short. Hull, who once considered Henyard a friend and even helped with her campaign, said this situation is nothing but betrayal. The rent, which increased to $2,400 per month due to rising property taxes, became a sticking point. PO claims Woods said they couldn't afford the new rate despite the couple having a combined income of over $300,000 from Henyard's roles as mayor and Thornton Township supervisor in Woods' high-paying township job. Paul said, "For a household that makes over $350,000 a year, I'm asking, how can you not pay your rent?"
A Dalton home that she leased to Mayor Tiffany Henyard has filed eviction papers. She says Henyard has not paid her rent, and now she wants.
But this story gets even crazier. Not only did Henyard and Woods allegedly stop paying rent, but H says they changed the locks and garage codes to keep her out of the property. "If I try to go over there with the locksmith and change them back, I think she's probably going to have me arrested." Hull told reporters this, frustrated after filing eviction papers in September. Hull said Cook County sheriffs have been unable to serve them, not at the house, not at Village Hall. Henyard seems untouchable, at least for now. Poole, who says she hasn't worked in months and relies on the income from the property to stay afloat, is at her wit's end. "At some point, you have to understand that karma is going to catch up to you. Just pay your rent," she said, adding that even if the couple pays up, she still wants them out.
Tiffany Henyard making a late appearance at the Dalton Village Board meeting this evening. That meeting was being held at the Park District building since Village Hall cannot legally accommodate the crowds at a typical meeting.
And just when you think it couldn't get worse for Henyard, it does. Days after news of the eviction broke, Henyard suffered another massive blow, this time to her political career at a Democratic caucus held to determine nominees for Thoron Township's April election. Henyard was blocked from running for re-election as supervisor. The gymnasium where the caucus took place was packed with residents and political figures, many of whom had come to witness what would become a public rejection of Henyard's leadership. The caucus, overseen by State Senator Napoleon Harris, was marked by chaos from the start. Henyard arrived late, dressed in a bold hot pink pantsuit, and immediately began accusing Harris of voter suppression. She claimed her supporters were being locked out of the venue as Harris's allies were allowed in. "First they had us in the cold, letting 2 people in at a time," Henyard shouted to reporters. "We had a long line around the block, and they never let us in." Harris's camp was quick to deny these allegations. An attorney for Harris explained that the gymnasium was simply at capacity due to early arrivals and that no one was intentionally excluded. People were let in at the proper time. Harris said, dismissing Henyard claims as baseless, but inside the mood was tense. Attendees, many frustrated with Henyard's controversies and abrasive leadership style, made their voices heard. The caucus lasted only 7 minutes, with Harris and his slate of candidates overwhelmingly winning the Democratic Party's nomination for Thornton Township. Henyard, meanwhile, was left fuming. "Illegal!" Napoleon shouted at Harris as the crowd erupted into cheers. For many, this was a long-awaited moment as Henyard stormed out of the room. Attendees began singing the classic sea taunt. "Nah," he kissed him goodbye, turning the event into a symbolic farewell to the embattled supervisor.
Let's do it properly and let the people really have a voice. The people's voice was taken today.
Henyard's removal wasn't just about the caucus rules, though her failure to meet the requirements for a full slate of candidates missing a certified assessor on her ticket played a part. But the caucus revealed something deeper. A community fed up with Henyard's scandals. Critics argued that her time as supervisor has been marred by allegations of lavish spending, self-promotion, and misuse of taxpayer funds, and it's not just residents who feel this way. Social media has been relentless in its criticism. One user commented, "Stop saying misuse funds. She flat out stole tax dollars and blew it lavishly." "That's not misuse," said Fun. Another added, "How did she get to this point? A few years ago she got busted for breaking into cars. She's always been a professional thief. She just recently added con man to her resume." These comments highlight the growing frustration with Henyard's leadership and the sense that her actions have finally caught up to her two agendas, two meetings in different locations. It was a little confusing for some residents, but the meeting here at Village Hall was cancelled after a few minutes because they didn't have a quorum. But Henyard isn't going down without a fight. She's already vowed to sue everyone involved in the caucus, claiming the process was rigged and illegal. "I will be suing everybody tomorrow. This is illegal, legal," she shouted as she left the caucus. Her attorney, Max Solomon, echoed these sentiments, accusing Harris of creating unfair rules at the last minute to disqualify Henyard. "Napoleon Harris is a coward," Henyard said. "He is a coward for not allowing the people to be heard." Despite her defiance, the list of controversies surrounding Henyard keeps growing. In addition to the eviction and the caucus debacle, she's also under investigation by federal authorities for alleged misuse of taxpayer funds. Earlier this year, former Chicago Mayor Lori Lightfoot, hired as a special investigator, revealed that Dalton's general fund balance had dropped from $561 million in 2022 to a deficit of $365 million by May 2024. Lightfoot's report also disclosed shocking spending habits, including $43,000 spent on Amazon in a single day and more than $85,000 on a sparsely attended concert. Residents have accused Henyard of using taxpayer money for personal luxuries, such as first-class flights, beauty vendors, and promotional billboards featuring herself. One trustee even described her as running the town like a dictatorship, prioritizing her image over the community's needs. But what truly stunned residents was the revelation that Henyard had allegedly pushed for a massive salary cut for any future township supervisors, reducing the role's pay from over $200,000 to just $20,000 annually. Critics were quick to call out the move as a blatant attempt to discourage competition and ensure no one could fill her shoes, even if she were forced out. Municipal Attorney Bert Odelson slammed the tactic as so illegal in so many ways, pointing out that it violated multiple state laws and undermined public trust in local government. "We believe strongly that that meeting was improperly called and improperly held." The residents of Dog Even Hen's Cancer Charity, once a cornerstone of her public image, have come under scrutiny. The Tiffany Henyard CS Foundation, which promised to empower cancer survivors, was recently ordered by the Illinois Attorney General to stop accepting donations after failing to register with the state. Critics argued that the charity had become another tool for self-promotion with little transparency about where its funds were going. "It's just one more thing she's using to boost her image while the rest of us suffer," said community activist Stephanie Weidman. For many, these revelations have cemented the belief that Henyard's time in office has been more about personal gain than public service. The financial mismanagement has had real consequences for Dolan's residents. The Illinois State Comptroller's Office cut off funding to the village after Henyard failed to provide required financial reports. Meanwhile, the town's deficit continues to grow, leaving trustees scrambling to address the mess. Residents have had enough, with many calling for Har's resignation. Deborah Jordan, a lifelong Dalton resident, said she's done nothing but embarrass this town. It's time for her to go. Does all this point the finger to Tiffany, or allow me, I'm over it now, it's time for me? Yet Henyard remains undeterred. She's announced plans to run for a second term as mayor of Dalton despite mounting opposition. At a recent village board meeting, Henyard doubled down on her confidence, declaring, "No, this I am going to come through on a landslide just like Trump did. Like it or not, I am your mayor." Her bold claims, however, were met with boos and residents turning their backs on her as she spoke. Trustee Jason House, who is also running for mayor, said morale in the town's police department is already struggling without a permanent chief, has hit an all-time low with lawsuits, investigations, and public backlash piling up. Henyard's future looks increasingly uncertain. Can she recover from this wave of scandals, or is her political career officially over? Some of her supporters, like Keith Price, believe she still has a chance. "I think enough people know her name to write her name in, and I believe we could still win it," Price said, referring to the possibility of Henyard running as a write-in candidate for Thoron Township supervisor, but others aren't so sure. Henyard's story is far from over, but one thing is clear: the self-proclaimed supermayor has fallen from grace in spectacular fashion, with eviction proceedings underway, investigations looming, and her political power slipping away. The question remains, how much lower can she go? What do you think? Is this the end of Tiffany Henyard's career, or will she find a way to bounce back? Let us know in the comments below, and don't forget to subscribe for more updates on this ongoing saga. Until next time.